How's it going, everybody? Bama Tony 73 here, and excuse the mess because this is just for video purposes only. Okay, so what we're going to get into on this video is the correct orientation on how these pistons go back into the cylinder bores of your block. Okay, that is very crucial. It could be catastrophic if it's not done correctly. Okay, and so I'm making a video about that because these are the OEM pistons, and I didn't see any videos on it at all. I just had to pay attention to some of the other aftermarket pistons, and I figured out exactly what the deal is with it, and I'll elaborate on that in a minute. And then we're going to go through some tools that we're going to need to do the job, to rebuild. Okay, first, you've got to have this main tool, magnets. If you're like me and you drop a lot of bolts and motors, invest in that. You're going to need it. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. You'll need a miniature ratchet set for your vacuum pump if you're working on an X1, X3, whatever. Any type of BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, Volkswagen, anything. You're going to need Chevy, Ford. You're going to need something, especially my car. I bought this just for the vacuum pump. And it's got the T40 on it. All right, so you'll need a bunch of random ratchets. You'll need half-inch ratchets, quarter-inch, 3/8 inch ratchets with, you know, a fair selection of extensions with that. You don't necessarily need this, but I only paid $70 for it, and I needed it. It's better for disassembly than reassembly, because you want to make sure everything's torqued properly, and you don't want to torque it too much, or just mess up your bolts or something, you know, mess up the head of your bolt, and then you're messed up then for sure. And you'll need a good drill. You'll need a good torque set. You're definitely going to need this for BMW. You'll definitely need a coolant, little coolant test. This is not much money, $40, Amazon, 40 or $50. Paid like $35 for this. It was $15 for the ratchet set. This was $15. This is a Harbor Freight half-inch ratchet, or Pittsburgh. Haven't even used it yet. $11. You're going to need a good torque wrench. This is not a good one, as you see here. I bent it. And I bent it on the main bolt right there. I'll show you that in a minute when we get over that way. And you'll need a good headlamp to see. Even during the day when you're up under the vehicle, you're going to need that. You're going to need random pry tools to take hoses and different stuff like that off. Good screwdriver set, preferably a magnetic one, because we all hate how the screw bolt falls off of the screwdriver, the end of it. It's terrible. But getting back over here. All right. Now, these are parts that I'm going to reuse because I've done an evaluation inspection of these parts, and I know that I can reuse them. How do you know? You're going to want to inspect these pistons really good. I don't want to buy pistons like this. These are the OEM factory pistons for the BMW, and they run about $350 to $400 each. And yeah, you heard me correctly, each. That's pretty expensive, and you know, it almost would make the rebuild not worth it if you had to go back with these. Fortunately for aftermarket parts, they have some cheaper ones that you can get for like $300 for the whole set. But these do run about $350, $400 each. And that is unbelievably expensive, and I wouldn't want to go back with nothing like that because I couldn't afford it. You're looking at what, $1,400, $1,600, $1,700 for a set of pistons. Okay, so when you're examining your part, especially a piston, you want to make sure that it moves freely here, and it does. Your connecting rod, you want to make sure everything's good to go with as far as it how straight it is. Okay, these aren't bent. There was no damage done to the catastrophic block damage that I suffered with my car. There was no damage to any of the other parts other than the block. So the skirt has minimal wear. I'm going to check that. I'll oil it up, put new rings on it, and you know, I've decided that I'm going to go back with the same rings. I'm just kidding, they're trash. Throw them in the garbage. Do not go back with your rings that, if you're doing a rebuild, put new rings in the car, even though they're $120. It will do all 4 pistons, and you're not going to have to worry about it. You'll have good moly rings in it, and you can get them, like I said, all for $118. So I'm going to order those next week. I'm going to need them. And you'll never imagine, unless you work on these things, how important piston rings are. And the compression of the engine, just everything, man. You need good rings, and go back with good Molly rings on that. Okay, so can you use the same crankshaft? Yep, if it looks like mine, you can. You see the journals, how clean they are? Take your finger and rub up and down every millimeter of this thing. And if you feel any grooves and dentures, anything like that, that you feel that shouldn't be there, you're going to need to take it to a machine shop and let them rework it, okay? Or you can do it yourself if you're used to doing that. I could do it myself, but I wasn't gonna take a chance with it, man. It's a very, very expensive part here. I wouldn't even want to begin to get into how much this thing cost if you had to buy the OEM, and I would recommend the OEM crankshaft. I saw a video from Vehicular DIY. Shout out to him too. His videos have been very, very helpful to me along my way. And he bought, on accident, a China crankshaft that was listed as a refurbished OEM BMW crankshaft. Okay, well, when he was done and got everything buttoned up, it spun a bearing. Okay, it spun a bearing. Terrible, terrible. He had to go back in, tear everything back down, and then he got an OEM crankshaft. Everything was good to go on the car then. But if you're going to replace your crankshaft, be sure it is a BMW OEM crankshaft. Be sure of that. It's very crucial. Now, this oil pump right here, what can I say about this thing? For a 4-cylinder vehicle with a turbo, this thing is massive. I mean, it weighs like 50 pounds. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's very, very heavy. And that's what adds a lot of weight to the block when you're getting it out. It's this thing right here. Okay, so clean it up, take the back off, check your gears out, check all the gears out. There's 3 gears in there, if I'm not mistaken, if I can remember correctly. Check them out, make sure the teeth on them is good, and you can clean this thing up and reuse it. You don't want to buy it. It's $700 for this thing. You don't want to rebuy this thing. Cylinder head. Can you reuse your cylinder head? In most cases, you can, but there are a lot of cases where you can't. And I just about had to trash this one because the MLS multi-layer steel gasket burnt through cylinders 1 and 2 here, and it had a burn mark here, and you can feel it with your finger. If you look now, the machine shop did a very, very good job on this, and they got it ready to be installed back on the vehicle, okay? So, let's go back. Now, you will need this. If you're working on what I am, a BMW, or any type of European vehicle or anything like that, you're going to need this timing kit. Sets the timing. This locks in your cams, your exhaust, and your intake side. This sets your timing. And this is your TDC pin here that you'll need to put into flywheel. This is for also, you have to put this in too. This also locks the flywheel. You notice those teeth on it. This is for the oil pump. It locks the oil pump along with this tool to where you can turn that main bolt and torque it down to spec. Okay, now what part's over here? Oh Lord, excuse the mess, as I said, but I have nowhere else to put this stuff. What else do you need to use again, and what do you need to replace? First off, you need to replace these head bolts. I wish that I could reuse them. It would save me $100. There's 15 of them. You have to replace these. They're, you know, the car ran hot multiple times before the damage occurred, and even though the threads look really good, they're warped. They would have to be warped in some way. I'm not going to reuse them, and BMW recommends that you don't reuse the head bolts. You need to go back with some new head bolts, because when you torque it down to spec, it stretches the threads also. So that's the main reason. Always, it's not even up for debate, replace all gaskets throughout the rebuild. This is your oil filter housing. It's got a brand new filter in it. And this is a brand new gasket. Multimeter, you'll need one of those along the way. Replace all hoses that are in bad shape. Okay, you can make a judgment call on that, and I've replaced 5 of my hoses 4 or 5 of them that I felt were in bad shape, and they were. Okay, like this one, for instance. You know, this one was in terrible shape, and as you see, it's broke, one of the pins on it, so I had to replace it with a brand new one. So just things like that you're going to need to replace along the way. And we don't want to replace certain parts if we don't have to, especially this baby right here. This is your turbo, and they usually run in the neighborhood of $1,500. You don't want to buy one of these. And I saw a video from Motor Car Nut. Shout out to him. His videos have helped me along the way. He made a video saying, don't ever buy another turbo. Just replace this. Okay, well, it's not easy to take this out. You have to have a circlip to take the clip out of here. And then you can separate these two pieces, and then you can replace this cartridge, it's called. And for like $250, you have fixed your turbo, opposed to $1,300-1,500, okay? And that's what usually goes out, and you might have some issues with your wastegate. But mine shuts properly, and if you touch it right here, you can feel it has no play. It shuts well. So this is going back on the vehicle, the turbo. And we all know how expensive, even if you don't know about vehicles, you know how much catalytic converters are. Inspect it really well, make sure it's good to go, and of course you can reuse it. Radiator, this is a brand new radiator. Got a few little, I don't know, that came from the factory like that, because when I took this thing out, it made like the 5th time I took a radiator out of a BMW, so I know how to take it out without touching anything. That was there when I bought it. But this is like it's not a very expensive radiator. It's like $250, something like that. But you're going to need a good radiator when you, for your rebuild, okay? Water pump. Very crucial, and it is a part that is in a very, very awkward location. It's hard to get to. You got to take like 1,000 hoses out of the way to get to it. So if you don't know the history on it, you need to go ahead and replace it just for location purposes, you know. And because you don't want to take it out also if it happens to, if you don't know the history on it and it happens to be, and I don't know the history on this. There's no telling how long that's been on there. So I'll probably go ahead and replace it. It's about $350, but you can get one that's an aftermarket water pump. And this is a Peerberg OEM. They're like $350, $389 I've seen. I would take my chances with the aftermarket one. They want like $200 for it, and they give you like a year or 2 warranty on it, so you can't go wrong there, I don't think. So that would be the route that I'm going to take with this, okay? As I mentioned, hoses. Just inspect your hoses. You can look at hoses and tell if they're any good. Like this one, these are in mint condition. There's nothing wrong with them. They're going back on the vehicle. That is your high pressure fuel pump right there. Now, just clean it up real good. Check it. Make sure everything is good to go. And you can reuse it. This is your oil cooler. Clean it up real good. Reuse it. Now, you might want to replace these. You know, these are your oil and coolant lines that run to your turbo. Just check your O-rings. I've replaced all my O-rings. Everything's good to go there. Your fuel line right there, you just check it, inspect it, clean it up, and put it back on the vehicle. These are your MLS head gaskets, okay? There are 3 layers to this thing, okay? 3 layers. Now, my car, when it ran hot that last time, it burned through all 3 layers of this head gasket, or a head gasket similar to this, the one that was in it, and that's what caused my catastrophic damage to the vehicle, okay? So you definitely want to, you know, as you're rebuilding, get you a good head gasket. They're about $40 a piece, 50 in some places. I got these for like 40 a piece. This one had a little bend in the bottom of it, so he sent me another one. I'll use the one in the back. Now, this is your vacuum pump. Now, my vacuum pump, it sucked up all kind of stuff, man. It was terrible, but I took it apart, cleaned it up real good, so now it has plenty of suction. I'm going to try to reuse this, and hopefully I can. We're going to find that out. This is your DME ECU. That's the brain of the car right there. Okay, I've got, this one's good to go. I've got it coated. I've got a lot of codes through Beamer code in it, like where your mirrors fold in and different things like that. Just different codes. You know, I've got video in motion where you can watch movies going down the road. I know that it don't sound safe, but, you know, I wanted that option, and for passengers mostly. But, yeah, It's a code you can pay. I think it was $49 for it, and it's worth every penny, man. I've got brake force coated on my car where if you have to slam your brakes, it'll warn the people behind you with 5 flashes. It flashes like 5 times real quick. It's a pretty cool feature. But there's a lot of different features you can code in. Okay, just as I said, all these hoses, man, you're going to want to check them out. And I highly recommend to take all of your bolts out of the vehicle. When you're taking them out, put them in Ziploc bags and label them. If you don't, I mean, it's already a nightmare with all these wire harnesses and parts and stuff like that. So you don't want to add to that. Just make sure you put them all in bags and write on them what goes back, okay? And then you won't have any problem with it. Okay, so that's about it, other than it's been quite the experience getting this thing almost ready to go ahead and start assembling back. It's been quite the process, but I'm almost there. So and you definitely, before I forget, this is one of the main issues right here. This is the timing chain, okay? This is like the Achilles heel of the BMW. You want to replace this. If it's orange, the orange ones, these are the factory ones, they're terrible. They've got the newer looking ones they've corrected the issue. It's like a fluorescent green looking color. That's what I've got ordered, and it should be in anytime. But yeah, definitely replace that. You've definitely got to replace that. I can't stress enough how that has to be replaced. And the correct orientation. It could be a very bad day on your startup when you get everything assembled and you're ready to start your engine and you've got these pistons in backwards. It's going to be a very bad day. Okay, so be sure which way they go. As I mentioned, the intake side is bigger than your exhaust side, and you can tell. Okay, so just be sure you got them in right. Double check everything, triple check if you have to, and you'll be good to go. You'll be able to handle it. Shout out to Beamer Doctor, man. You have been awesome help with your videos. They've given me the confidence to move forward with such a massive project solo. Car Ready, you also your videos have taught me a lot with all your build on the F30. Man, it's taught me a lot along my way. So I'm about ready to start assembling everything back. So I'm getting to the point now to where it's about to go into the assembly process. So you want to make sure you cross all your T's and dot your I's, as they say. Just be sure, and anybody can do it. Don't think you can't do it. Anybody can do it. Just do your research as I have, because there's nothing about my engine that I don't know now. There's nothing about it. I've seen every video available multiple times. So just do your homework and you'll be fine. And that's all I've got to say about the car repair. But hey, what about the Alabama Crimson Tide, baby? Facing off with Michigan Wolverines in the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, out in Pasadena, California. Okay, what you got to say about it? Well, I'll tell you, Bama will win the game 38-14, and we will play Texas because Texas is going to beat Washington. And we're going to play Texas for the national championship. Who will win that game? I don't know yet. We'll get back to you on that. I'll see how Alabama plays in this game. Texas beat us earlier in the season, so you know they got our number at the moment. So we want to play them. We want to play them. If you're an Alabama fan, you want Texas instead of Washington. If you can beat Michigan, of course. So that game, we're not out of the woods yet. We've got to beat Michigan to get into to play for all the marbles. So can't wait for New Year's Day, and a few days out, we're almost there. Roll Tide, roll, baby. That's all I've got for now.